A wonderful good day, everyone. And I'm really, really sorry. We had a little bit of a technical glitch this evening, just with our setup. So there's a little bit of a last minute change. So if I look a bit fuzzy or with a strange background, it's because of that. My name is Gabby Burt. I'm International Director for The Journey. And I'm really, really privileged to welcome you to tonight's discovery session. This is our monthly time to come together to unearth how we can really discover what holds us back in life, how we can clear, or how it's possible to clear traumas and issues from our lives. And this is the one time in the month where we have Brandon live with us. So I'm very, very privileged to ask you. But before I do that, I've got a little bit of a special announcement today. We're actually offering a place at the Journey Intensive as a lottery place this evening. So for anyone who is staying until the very end, there will be one lucky winner. So it could be you, and I will announce that winner at the very end of the session. But until then, let's welcome Brandon into the room and have a beautiful, beautiful discovery session with Brandon. Thank you and namaste. See you later.
And a heartfelt namaste to everyone. And I'm just so excited about this lottery thing that I just found out about. It's the first time we've ever done that, and it kind of makes it a lovely session for all of us. And I wanted to thank you. So many of you wrote to me the challenges you've been facing of late. And I try to tailor these discovery sessions for those of you that have written in and really shared the challenges you're facing, the traumas that have been arising, and the physical issues that have been coming up for you, and life challenges you've been having. And so I try to tailor these discovery sessions, which are different every time I do them, to really support all the issues that have been brought up. And I was noticing this time more than any other time when I've been reading the issues that the depression was coming up for a lot of you. And one woman was sharing how after, the COVID whole lockdown and all the disasters that happened during that time, that she actually got post-traumatic stress syndrome, PTSD. And so it was as a result of COVID, and she went from there into a deep, now medically diagnosed depression. And then there were other people who were sharing that they had been clearing, using the journey, some emotional issues that had been coming up for them. But they were beginning to encounter issues that they felt that they'd inherited somehow, that somehow traumas that their parents had gone through were now showing up inside of them. Other people who are sharing about terrible anxiety that's been here. And so and stress that's been here. And so it was a multitude of issues, from having physical illness to divorce to just all the challenges. And we have been living through a very difficult time, a very challenging time, because in addition to the whole 3 years of COVID that is still in many countries continuing on, then there were all the disasters that happened around the world with droughts and floods and earthquakes and huge mega fires. And so the whole climate change has been bringing on almost biblical proportion of traumas for people and disasters, that they're natural disasters that they're meeting. And, I've been reading in the Telegraph newspaper in Britain that the divorce lawyers are saying they are deluged with people seeking divorce, that they had no coping skills for coping through such a stressful time. And so they can't even cope with all the divorces that are taking place. And on. Our medical systems are very stressed. And so it's understandable that with Ukraine war in the last year and a bit, and on, it seems that circumstantially, just in these last years, we've been living through an extraordinarily stressful time. And one of the things that science has found is when you feel a strong emotion and you repress it, because none of us were given a manual. How do I deal with all these uncertainties and losing a job and having to homeschool my children, not knowing what the next lockdown will be and what it'll be like, and the next disaster where I've lost my home, I can't live in the area that I grew up in, and on and on. No one gave us a manual how to deal with that. And usually what happens is, not having any coping skills, we just shut it down, sweep it under the carpet, go into denial. And so what happens is what science says, when that happens, when we feel a strong emotion and we repress it, we shut it down, it releases into our bloodstream quantifiable biochemistry, which will go to certain cell receptors and block those cells, rendering those cells incapable of communicating with the rest of the cells in the body. And if over time illness happens, well, of course it happens where the cells are blocked. And conversely, what's also known to be true is that when we feel and open with our emotions very naturally, like a child does, and tears come up and then giggles come up and they just come through naturally. When we allow our emotions to arise and be felt naturally, they can watch this in a laboratory. Our cell receptors remain open. And so the journey was first born from my own direct experience of healing from a basketball-sized tumor in only 6.5 weeks' time. And part of the gift of my own journey is I found a means for all of us in a very direct, practical way to go on a journey inside your body, to go to specific cellular locations, to uncover the old cell memories there, the old pain, the buried trauma that we have there, the inherited issues that we have there, all the things that we didn't have the coping skills to deal with, that when we shut them down, the biochemistry got released and they got trapped, stored inside our cells. And so not only do you uncover directly what's stored inside your cells, but you go through a deep and gentle but powerful process of releasing that old stored consciousness, letting go that old pain, and coming to a place of understanding of what happened to me at that time in my life. And also coming to a place of forgiveness of myself, of life for doing this, for God, there's other people involved. And something quite magical happens when we wholly and wholeheartedly forgive. That's when we let go of the whole consciousness, the whole pain that we've been dragging around with us. We let go of the whole story of the pain, so that when new cells are born, they're born devoid of that old programming, as new regenerative cells. So of course, when I first started offering the journey workshops and seminars 28 years ago, I was first invited to go to cancer centers to work with people who were undergoing cancer. They may have been undergoing chemotherapy, let's say, and having that be given to them intravenously. And simultaneously, they'd be getting to go through a journey process with a nurse to get to the emotional corollary of what co-created the illness in the first place. As a matter of fact, right now in Israel, there are 3 hospitals that, let's say you have a heart operation. After your heart operation, you are then welcome to go into a recovery center where they will take you through journey work to get to the emotional corollary. What co-created the heart disease in the first place? And they found that when they've done the hundreds of case studies, that when you clear the root cause of what co-created the illness, that its chances of coming back are greatly lessened. They're finding people are healing faster, and that the heart disease isn't coming back again. Or let's say the cancer. They have another hospital where they have in the oncology unit, you go into the recovery center, and after you've had your treatment, undergo the journey to get to the emotional root cause of what created the illness in the first place. They do that in another hospital with multiple sclerosis. And so there is a scientific and biochemical reason why so many of you are feeling a lot of stress right now, because we have these external circumstances that have taken place. We haven't been given a manual how to deal with them. What most of us try to do is we just kind of, sweep it under the carpet and carry on and try to soldier on through and, somehow make our lives, get things handled in our lives. And when that happens, that biochemistry is released and going to certain cell receptors. Now, if over time we are shutting down our emotions, you start shutting down one emotion, it starts shutting down all emotions. And the state of depression starts to be here, where, one of the things that science has found is that when you think a depressive thought or feel a depressive emotion, it does release that biochemistry. And when it blocks the cell receptors, it prevents the bliss hormones from being uptaken. Now, we all produce bliss hormones. Our brain produces them. And our cells are no longer able to take in the happy hormones. So what happens, if you've ever spoken to someone who's had depression, they'll often talk about a downward spiral, where literally they aren't able to uptake the serotonin, the bliss hormone that our brain produces. And so, of course, that makes them feel even worse. They think more negative thoughts, and the biochemistry is released. More cell receptors get blocked. Less serotonin is able to be uptaken by our cells, and they start spiraling down, where they're feeling worse and worse, more and more depressed. But the good news is that with the journey, we are in a very practical way able to go on a journey inside of our own bodies to get access to these old repressed cell memories, and to go through that radical process of releasing the stored consciousness, letting go to the pain, understanding what's happened to us, forgiving, so that when new cells are born, they're born devoid of that old programming as new regenerative cells. Now, originally, of course, this work was used largely in the medical field and by people undergoing any kind of treatment. But over time, the work developed, and it wasn't just getting to the emotional corollary of illnesses, but getting to the root cause. What is co-creating the stress in your life? What is causing you to seek a divorce in a marriage that's been going on for 40 years? Now, it's easy to say, I feel this way because my partner is being this way. But that's not what's really happened. What's really happened is we have these old buried issues stored inside. And what happened during COVID and lockdown, and it was like a pressure cooker. And our buttons got pushed, and vroom, up came these old buried unmet issues that we had not dealt with, that maybe happened in our childhood. So, let's say, let's bring it down just to a very practical level. Let's say you're driving and it's a lot of traffic, and you're starting to get stressed out because it's, you're supposed to be at an appointment and it doesn't look like that's going to be on time. And then someone has the nerve to cut you off and get in front of you. And out of nowhere comes up this rage. Now, that driver did not come in the middle of the night and stick the rage inside of you. That rage was already there. And all that that driver did was push your buttons. And so with the journey, we're not only uncovering physical issues, but we're getting to the emotional root cause of what's co-creating our surface stress. And so one of the things that the journey has given me is I found that as I've cleared whatever stopped me, held me back, whatever shut me down, that more of who I am becomes available. And if I had to describe in a metaphor, what is the journey in a nutshell, the best way I could describe it is to say that we, all of us, come into this life as a radiant, shining diamond, completely whole, absolutely free, as this vast field of omnipresent love. As a matter of fact, science will tell you that when you are born and a newly born infant, you feel yourself to be such a vast field of awareness, of love, that when mother's hand comes before your eyes, you feel mother's hand as being part of yourself. That's how vast this vast infinite field of enlightened awareness is that you came in as. But unfortunately, this vast field of presence gets covered over by a series of lies and pain and shutdown where we didn't have the coping skills. And it could be something as simple as you're 3 years old and you're crying about something and mom says, come on, we've got to dry our tears. We've got to get to nursery school. And the little you gets it. Oh, I'm not allowed to feel, at least not the ones with the tears. And the first involuntary shutdown happens. Or it could be the kind of thing, I can remember I was 8 years old, and like many of you described in your letters to me today, that you experienced childhood abuse and trauma. And I grew up in a very domestically challenged household. And the way as a little kid I used to cope was I used to, lose myself in my children's books and my fantasy world. And of course, if you love reading as much as I did, I became a good reader and a good speller. And so when I was 8 years old, we have something in the United States called the spelling bee. And I was chosen to represent the third graders in our grade school, in our elementary school. And we were having a big contest taking place in a stadium for all the grade schools and elementary schools in our county. And so I was standing on stage, and there's thousands of people in the room, students, teachers, parents, and I've already spelled 3 difficult words. And then they give me one of the easiest words in the English language, the word fleet. Now, I'd never seen the word fleet in any of my children's books, but I had seen the word flea, an insect. And I said, F-L-E-A-T, and the whole audience was hushed. And all at once, it erupted into laughter. Now, no one had given me a manual. How do you deal with mass humiliation in front of your friends, other students, other parents, teachers? And everybody's laughing at me. And I looked to my mom, who was sitting in the 3rd row, for support. And she looked at me as if I was the greatest disappointment in her life, and just shook her head and just went. And for me, it was like this internal wall just came slamming down inside of me. And I retreated to the back of the stage where the other losers were. And that day I decided I'm just so stupid. I'm so worthless that people will only ever laugh at me. I'll never amount to anything in my life. And it's like this, layer upon layers of these shutdowns. I can remember I was 16 years old and I fell in love with my first crush, and I tried to impress him, and well, you know how that goes. And I made a total fool of myself. And I watched the first love of my life literally running out of my life, and I was running after him. And that day I decided, I'm so unattractive. I'm so unlovable. No one will ever love me. No one that I'm attracted to will ever find me worthy of love. Layer upon layer of shutdowns. Now, when we get to be adults, and I traveled to 39 countries with the journey in all different cultures, and it doesn't matter where I've traveled to, we've all learned to do the same thing. As adults, we put on this mask that says to the world, no, I've got it handled. You can rely on me. I'm reliable. I'm dependable. You can count on me. And so we present this mask to the world. And then we wonder why it is everyone thinks we're so full of, well, you can finish that sentence. And then if you get to be very lucky, life gives us a wake-up call. Now, these wake-up calls can come in the form of anything, as many of you wrote to me today. They can come in the form of a loss of a loved one, form of a divorce. The lockdowns and no coping skills come in the form of a serious illness, come in the form of a natural disaster, where for one moment you decide to get real. And you crack through this hardened veneer, this mask that you've been presenting to the world. And spontaneously, you end up opening down through all the layers of the lies, the limitations, the shutdowns, the buried pain. And ultimately, you end up opening into your own soul, into this vast field of love, this peace, this divine potential that you came in as. And you recognize it's been there all along. Only like me, you bought into all the layers that covered it and identified with them. And if you're very lucky, you fall so in love with yourself, with your own essence, with your own soul. But like me, you'll be willing to do anything to clear whatever blocks you, whatever shuts you down, whatever holds you back, whatever lampshades you've put over your light, so that this radiant love that is your essence can live your life. So if I had to say, what's the journey really all about? It's about getting real. It's about cracking through this mask that we're presenting to the world. It's about opening down through the layers of the lies and the pain and the shutdowns, and ultimately opening into this vast field of love, your own divine potential that is your own soul. And it's at the deepest level, at the level of your own soul, that you turn the flashlight on inside, the torch on inside, and you're guided by your own infinite intelligence on a journey inside your body to go to specific cellular locations, to uncover the old cell memories that are there, the old stored pain, the emotional themes that you may have stored there, the parental issues that might have been passed on down through your DNA and are now presenting in your own life. And you not only do you uncover exactly what's stored inside those cells, but you go through this deep, profoundly healing process of releasing that old stored pain, coming to a place of understanding what took place, what's been taking place, coming to a place of forgiveness. And that's when you let go of the whole story of me and my pain. So that when new cells are born, they're born as new regenerative cells, free from that old programming. And so this work is about healing on all levels. It's not just physical, as it was originally known for and used by the medical field and psychiatrists and psychologists, but it's now being used by people from all walks of life so that they can go on their own journeys to take the lampshade off their lights and really get to the emotional root cause of what is co-creating their surface stress, their depression, their anger with their spouse, their inability, their helplessness to cope with what's going on. Because no one ever expected the rug to be pulled out from underneath us as it has been in these last few years. And so even though I can't take you into a full, journey teaching and process work, because that is a full 3-day immersion where you dive deeply into yourself. And you, not only in the first morning of the journey intensive, do I go through deep teaching and meditations and guided introspections, but in the afternoon, you go through in a one-to-one process with another delegate, you go through the full emotional journey. And then the next day you go through the physical journey, and the next day through all the advanced skills. And so it's a deeply, profoundly liberating and healing 3 days that will forever change your life. And mainly, it will give you the tools to clear whatever issue is living here inside of you, be it emotional, be it physical, be it something that's been passed down generationally. I can remember the first time I went to Germany in 2003, and I was offering the Journey Intensive. And on the second day of the Journey Intensive, we were sharing where we'd gone inside the body because we'd done the physical journey. And one man said, well, it's odd because I went inside my heart and I don't actually have anything that I'm aware of that I had physically wrong in my heart. He said, but the cell memory I uncovered there wasn't even my own. It was my mother's. And she was in the concentration camps during World War II. And I was born post-World War II. And my mother, she just went, shtum. We don't talk about this. So she never shared with me what she went through in those camps. And during my process, I started releasing, and all of what she went through started being released and let go of and understood and forgiven. And he said, Brandon, my whole life since I was born, it's like I had this lid over my life. It's like whatever she had been through in World War II, which I didn't know of until today, it's like I did not have permission. I had this lid over myself where I didn't have permission to be free and crazy and make mistakes and have fun and be carefree. It's like I had this lid over my life. And I asked everybody in the room, we were about 240 people, how many of you feel like this, who were born post-World War II, who feel that somehow, since you were born, that you had this lid over your life? And everyone raised their hands. And then I looked at my own life, and I grew up in New York, but my mom was Austrian, and she lost her father, was shot through the head, and her first husband shot down by the Luftwaffe. And then she married my dad, who was a lieutenant in the American Army, who brought her to the United States. And so she, then gave birth to the siblings. And like this man, she went stumm. We don't even talk about what happened then. I didn't even know my grandfather's name. I didn't know about her first husband. I knew nothing. And yet when I looked at my own life, I realized that I too, in a country that's somehow supposed to be all about freedom, I too had a lid over my life. And so, yes, in answer to the questions, do we inherit our emotional issues and the traumas our parents lived through? Absolutely. There's a whole field called epigenetics where they say between 4 and 6 generations of trauma gets passed on to this generation that's here right now. And so the journey, sometimes the journey that you do, the cell memories you uncover aren't even your own. They belong to your parents, but when you clear them, it frees you. It takes the lampshade off your light. So though we cannot, go into the full in-depth deep dive, I still would like us to do a little divine experiment here, where we do a guided introspection to begin to learn how to befriend our bodies, to begin to learn to listen to what our bodies are trying to reveal to us, to uncover the emotions that might be stored inside of our bodies, and to learn to welcome the emotions. So if you'd like to join me, let us all take a nice deep breath in together, letting it out and closing the eyes. And this is sort of a guided meditation, a guided introspection, where we're learning to befriend our bodies and beginning to take the baby steps towards listening and opening with our emotions. And so let's all together take a nice deep breath in of openness and breathing that into the room. And breathing into the room the willingness just to try this divine experiment. You have nothing to lose but some old baggage, everything to gain from beginning this process of inner listening. And so breathing this willingness to feel into your room. And now trust. Trust in yourself, trust in life. Trust that your soul wants you to come home to this infinite intelligence inside of you, to the love that is here, to the freedom that is your essence. Breathing trust into the room. And letting your heart be as wide as the world. Vast, open sky of all acceptance. And it's spacious and vast, free and endless in front of you. Boundlessly spacious and free behind. Endlessly spacious and free to all sides. Vast below, sky-like above. It's a vast open sky of all acceptance. And now let's turn the gaze inside of our bodies. And you know this, our bodies are full of all kinds of emotions, all kinds of feelings. And you know, our feelings, they're like little kids. Some of our emotions are loud and attention-seeking, always trying to get our attentions. Some of our feelings are shy and scared of us. And some of your emotions, you've rejected them so many times, they don't even come up for you anymore. Like a little rejected kid. They hide behind closed doors or underneath lids. And so just putting out a heartfelt welcome to all the feelings that live inside of you. And you may even apologize for not being willing to open and feel, and for having shut them down and denied them for so long. And then just gazing through your body and locating part of your body where there may be a little tension right now, or stress, or holding going on, or contraction, or hiding happening. Locating that area. And now take a deep breath in of acceptance. And now flood that area with acceptance, letting it soften and open and be tenderized and marinated. And just inquiring if there were an emotion there. What might it be? It might be as quiet as a whisper. So just staying open. If there were a feeling hiding there, I wonder what it might be. And just welcoming whatever's here and also whatever's not here. Or if this area could speak and had words, what would it say? Give it a voice. If this area could speak and had words, what would it say right now? And just allow those words to rise up right now. And you can even whisper them into your room. What would it say if it could speak? Or perhaps a picture showing up out of nowhere. If there is, step into it. How are you feeling in that picture? So as you listen to the words, how do they make you feel? Or if you see a picture, how are you feeling in that? Or perhaps it feels like there's a lid over something, like something is really buried deeply and it's hiding from you. If there is a lid, and let's assume there is one, just like you'd open and peel back the lid of a can of peanuts, take hold of this lid right now and lift it off. What's hiding here? Take hold of it and lift it off right now. What's hiding here? How are you feeling? Just welcoming whatever's here and whatever's not here. Taking a deep breath in of acceptance and sighing it out. And now come to neutral inside yourself. Come to neutral. And now locate another part of your body where there may be a little tension or stress or holding or hiding or contraction going on. Locate that area. Taking a deep breath in of acceptance. And now flooding that area with acceptance, letting it soften and open and be tenderized. And if there were a feeling starting to rise out of that area spontaneously, what might that feeling be? Might be as quiet as a whisper, just staying open. Or if this area could speak and had words, what would it say right now? Give it a voice. If it could speak, what's it saying right now? Whispering that into your room. And as you listen to the words, how do they make you feel emotionally? Or perhaps a picture is showing up. If there is, step into it. How are you feeling in that picture? Or maybe there is a lid over this area. Well, if there is, take hold of it and now lift it off. What's hiding here? Just welcoming whatever's here and whatever's not here. Taking a deep breath in of acceptance and flooding that area with acceptance. Coming to neutral right now. And then making a little promise to your body, if it feels right, that you're going to stay open. You're going to start listening to your body, even the really tiny, subtle messages, that you're going to welcome the feelings that are here and begin this process of really listening to yourself. Because your emotions, they're the gateway to your soul. And your soul has all the answers that you need for your life. So if it feels appropriate, just letting your body and your being know that you're going to continue this process of acceptance, of allowing, of welcoming everything that lives inside of you. And then taking a nice deep breath in. And sighing it out. And another nice deep breath in. And sighing it out. And the awareness remains vast and spacious. Free and endless in front of you. It's boundlessly spacious and free behind. Your own presence is vast and spacious to all sides. You're just resting here as an open sky of all acceptance. So that eyes open or eyes closed, same the same. Take another nice deep breath in. Letting it out. And you can open your eyes now into this presence, into this vast field of all acceptance. Let's take another nice deep breath in. and sigh. And another nice deep breath in. And sighing it out. And if the eyes have not yet opened, this is your invitation to open the eyes now. And you can open your eyes now. The eyes will open now. Okay. So, some of you may have just done a little toe dip, but others of you may have actually uncovered some significant emotional issues. And I wondered if you might be willing to write that into the chat box. Just write into the chat box some of the emotions that came up for you. And they'll be read out loud so that we can all know what was written, and just so that we can see the kinds of things that are emerging. You have the one external behavior, right? But then there's deeper emotional issues buried inside the body. And so what is it that you uncovered there inside the body? And if you could share some of those, that'd be wonderful.
So they're starting to come in now, Brandon. It's grief and devastation, black destruction, being crushed, a reproach. That's not what I taught you. Anger and fear, shame and guilt.
Wow. These are very deep emotions, and they've been buried there probably for years. And I really do feel,
Loneliness. Yeah, they're still starting to come in. So
yeah,
really
beautiful.
loneliness more than once, and sadness and anger and fire like a devil. Anger in the uterus, lack of trust, hurt and fear, anger, and being crushed, a hole in the chest. So yeah, very, very strong.
Yeah, and also very deep.
Yeah.
And these emotions, they're not coming from your mind. They're actually buried in your body. And so I really do feel it's an invitation, not from me, but from your own soul saying, it's time to come home. It's time to go on your journey, to not only get access to the issues that are stored here, but to go through a life-changing, radical, profoundly healing process. So that when new cells are born, they're born devoid of that old consciousness as new regenerative cells. And so if you feel that you've uncovered something that has been buried for a while, I do feel it's something you should listen to. And as you know, we've got upcoming journey intensives happening, and they're happening online. So they take place in your own home. And yet you're embraced by trainers there who have been through the whole practitioner program, completed case studies, and through a year-long training. And so you have permission to dive in deeply, and you have all the support you need, so that in the afternoons when you go into your breakout rooms for a one-to-one process, there are trainers there that if you have anything come up that you're concerned about, you can raise your hand, and literally they will bring their expertise and experience and create an embrace for you to have the most profoundly liberating and healing experience. And my prayer isn't just that you have this big clear out. My prayer is that you really give yourselves and surrender to the grace, the love that is calling you home, and that you will use these skills in your life, not only for yourself, but you'll give the work away to your children, to your loved ones, to your family, to your friends, that you'll help them take the lampshade off their lights, and that you'll continue to deepen in your journey. When I was on tour, prior to COVID, I was teaching 44 weeks in a year. And prior to every event that I taught, I did a journey process. And so that's been going on for 28 years, right? And so, or 25 years before COVID started happening. And I never wanted to be so arrogant as to think I've got it all handled. I know there's more than one issue stored inside this body, and I'm so grateful I get to work with journey practitioners who can take me through the journey to clear whatever's stored here, whatever residual limitations are here, whatever cell memories are there, so that more and more of this love, this joy, this divine potential that you came in as can live your life. And so I called it a journey because it is a journey. It's a stripping away of this that isn't real, a stripping away of the limitations and an opening into your own soul. And so it's an incredible gift you give to yourself and to your life and to your loved ones. And so if you feel called, you'll be shown how you can go to the upcoming events. I think they're happening in June. They're happening in Hebrew in midweek, and they're happening in September. And I think they'll put up all the information, and you'll be taken through where you can go through on your own time zone, the journey intensive. And so I pray I see you again, and that you'll value yourself enough to want to undergo the journey and to liberate your life. And so I look forward to seeing you again. Until then, a heartfelt namaste.
Thank you, Brandon, so much for joining us today. I've changed places again, but what a beautiful discovery session. And I'm delighted that it went so deep for so many people. And I'm really so happy to be sharing the information for the Journey Intensives coming up. And we have one more Journey Intensive before we go into our summer break. And that actually happens in June from 13th to 15th on the European time zone. It says here Israel. It's not taking place in Israel. It's taught in English. So we have Brandon teaching the main modules. I will be taking the co-hosting position in that event, and we will be offering Hebrew translation. So, and what I should also say, especially for our Journey Intensives, as you can see on the slide, the prices are crazy. We are offering, because of what is kind of happening all over the world, a very, very special discount, which is 70% off. These events have always sold for just under 500 euros. And because we can do it online, and because we want more people to have access to these tools, we're offering it in euros for 147, American dollars the same, Australian dollars 247. So it is really affordable and a tool that I wish every household had in their home, because this is the way we can keep our diamond clean. This is the way how we can uncover some of the things we may have carried with us for a very, very long time. I have been with Brandon and the journey for over 25 years, and I have witnessed the most profound life transformations. And everybody whose transformations I have witnessed has started at this event, at the Journey Intensive. And so if this is something, what you've heard here today has kind of caught you in the heart, if you have more questions, we have somebody on the other end of a phone. You can book a clarity call. You can book a call with someone, and they can help you to get clear if this is the right thing for you, you know. And we are starting our worldwide events again in various languages on all time zones from September onwards. And this now in June 13th to 15th is the last one on the European time zone in English with Hebrew translation. And it is midweek. So it starts on a Tuesday and it ends on a Thursday. It is also for our Jewish journey community and family. So many of them cannot join us over a weekend. So we have at least twice a year an event that we hold midweek. And it also serves many other people who may have families and can't take time away from the family over weekend. So it's during the week, Tuesday to Thursday. And I said at the beginning that we had a free place to give away today, a free place for somebody who stayed until the very end. And this free place you can choose, even if I pick somebody who has already been, you are allowed to give this place to someone else. Or if you haven't, and this next event in June is not the right date for you, then come and find a date in the autumn or spring if you live in Australia. So I will just scroll through the delegates list, and where it stops is the winner for today. So just give me one moment. I shall close my eyes and shall scroll up and down, and I'm not in charge of anything here. I didn't have time to put it all in a hat, but I have got a lady called Julia Paule. So Julia Paule is our winner for today. And Julia, if you, for you to claim your free place, would you please send an email to support@thejourney.com? And Sarah, who answers this email, is actually here today. So she has heard it. She knows who you are. Well, she doesn't know who you are, but she knows your name. So please come, send an email to support@thejourney.com, Julia, and let Sarah know that you are the winner of today's discovery session, and when you would, and that you have a free place, and then you can figure out which event you would like to attend. And for everybody else here, I just hope we see you somewhere along the line at one of the events, whether it's in June or whether it's past our summer or winter break, wherever we are. And I can only highly recommend it. It has changed my life, and it has changed pretty much everyone's life who I know who's done this same work. And we have all fallen in love. And over these last few years, I know that all of us would say, I don't know how I would have gone through this period without these tools. And so this is really why we're so passionate. This is why we want more people to have these tools. And so I can only recommend it from the bottom of my heart, highly recommend it, and hope we're going to come and see you at some point. And on that note, I want to thank you from my heart for joining us today, and really, really hope we see you soon. Thank you very much, and namaste. Thank you.